Skyward Sword is one of the harder Zelda games out there. This may be welcome news to many Zelda veterans, but it may seem a little daunting to newer players. Either way, Nintendo has included a huge amount of options to help players through the game if they ever get stuck. The first of these options that players will likely run into is the Sheikah Stone. This Sheikah Stone is different from all the other similar looking gossip stones found in the game. When players talk to it, they'll have the option of watching short movies that show them how to do certain things. Can't figure out a certain puzzle? Don't know how to defeat a certain enemy? Don't know where to go next for a certain side quest? The Sheikah Stone knows all and is more than happy to share its knowledge with you. On the other hand, gossip stones players find will give not so explicit and vague hints about different things throughout the game. As helpful as they can be, the Sheikah and gossip stones are scattered throughout the lands. They're not constantly with Link on his journey. If only there was someone who is always by Link's side. Someone who could help him on his journey. No, I'm sorry to report this character is not Navi. I know how many of you were hoping it was. It's one of the game's new characters named Fi. Fi, as players learn shortly after meeting her, is a spirit created by the ancient goddess who resides on the Goddess Sword, the sword Link claims before leaving to find Zelda. She was created to help whoever pulled the sword out of its resting place. Fi is a humorous character in that she has no emotions, and as a result speaks in very analytical and matter-of-fact terms. This kind of robotic nature lends itself to allowing Nintendo to give players the option for more help than they've ever had before. Like in other various Zelda games, players can lock onto enemies and call upon Fi to have her give a synopsis of the targeted enemy, but she doesn't stop there. In addition to giving a multi-page description of the enemy, Fi also informs you of how many of the targeted enemy you've defeated, and based on that, what your performance is in fighting that enemy. While not targeting an enemy, players can call upon Fi at any time to ask her a variety of other questions. Players can ask for a reminder of their current objective, which is also displayed on the title screen whenever the game is turned on. This is especially useful if players haven't played the game in a while and have forgotten what to do next. They can ask for a surprisingly in-depth analysis of their situation given the location, the monsters that inhabit it, and the current items that they have. They can even ask for a straight-up hint if they're stuck. And because Fi is with Link all the time, players can speak to her and ask her any of these questions at the simple push of a button. There's yet another way that the game can help players through their adventure, and that's by pressing 2 on the Wii Remote. At any time, players can press 2, and 3 messages will appear at the top of the screen reminding players of the controls of whatever they're currently doing. If the player is walking, the messages will describe how to move Link. If the player is flying, the messages will describe how to control the Loftwing. And if a player is using an item, the messages will describe how to use that item specifically. The last bit of help Nintendo's provided players with is the graphical interface itself. On the right side of the screen, a transparent outline of the Wii Remote is displayed. On it are all the controller's buttons and their corresponding actions. Similarly, an outline of the nunchuck and its buttons is displayed on the left side of the screen. This, of course, is to help players remember how to perform the game's various actions with a simple glance to the left or right of the screen. What's great about this, as well as the other help methods I've mentioned, is that it's completely optional. Players will find that there are 3 different settings for the interface. The interface can display both controllers and all their buttons and actions. It can display just the Wii Remote's buttons and actions with no controller outlines blocking the player's views, or it can display nothing at all, leaving the entire screen void of a graphical overlay, aside from hearts, rupees, the shield gauge, and the currently assigned item, freeing up a lot of screen space. If players are Zelda pros, they can go through the entire game without using any of these hints. But if players are newer to Zelda, they have an enormous amount of options to help them through the game.